it seems like after they become, if they win election, when they don't do anything about it, they say, well, they never said they were going to do something about it.
Yeah,
Or
right.
Barack Obama's term was, I never campaigned as a progressive. I never said I was a progressive. He never
Oh,
campaigned like
oh,
that.
oh,
But if you
oh.
go back and listen to his speeches,
Of
I was
course he
like,
said
no,
that.
it
Yeah.
sounds very highly progressive to me.
Yes.
And I think he beat Clinton by feigning progressive,ism.
Yes.
Is
Wait.
exactly what
Of
he did.
course.
But he'll never admit that, and you'll have a million people making excuses about it.
Yes, and you're talking about there a lot of bad faith there as well, with people saying, "Oh, I knew he wasn't progressive all along," or people saying, no, and he never promised anything, and everybody just projects their own views onto him. And look, that is true to a certain degree. A lot of people do project their own views onto him, but he did campaign as a progressive. He gave so many speeches like that back in. So I'll tell you. So I was an enthusiastic Obama supporter in '08. And one of the reasons was I was so happy to see the Democratic Party get wrested away from the Clinton faction. And Hillary obviously represented the Clinton wing of the party, and here's
Uh-huh.
Obama coming in, and he's going to bring in all new people. I thought, we're going to get all new people. It's going to be great, and he comes in and he brings in the same people. I couldn't believe that. Rahm Emanuel is back. Hillary Clinton is Secretary of State. Larry Summers is running economic policy. Tim Geithner's in there. It blew my mind. But the other thing is, so I knew that he had that centrist side to him, that he liked to, he gave his famous speech at the convention in '04 about, there is no red America, there's no blue America, we're all in this together. And I was like, yeah, that's sappy. But he also has this other side where he's very smart and he's very sharp, and he can tell Wall Street, he knows what's the matter with Wall Street, and he's going to do the right thing and all that stuff. I thought he was doing the centrist bipartisan stuff just to sort of reel in the suckers. I thought that was just the boilerplate. I had it exactly wrong. It was the other way around. He was reeling it in. That's the stuff he meant, right? It was the
Yeah.
liberal, the progressive stuff was just to reel in the suckers. It was to reel in me. I was trying to understand, Obama has two big achievements as president. Let's put the stimulus aside, which was his third big achievement. But the two big achievements, Obamacare and Dodd-Frank, and they have something in common. I mean, they have a lot of things in common, but the thing that's most striking when you look at it is the complexity of these things. They're enormous pieces of legislation that almost nobody understands. Dodd-Frank, for example, is still, to this day, it's not completely written. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this is a kind of motif of Obama's presidency, is this embracing complexity, unnecessary complexity. Like setting up a national healthcare system didn't have to be massively, massively complex. Re-regulating Wall Street could have been done in a very, very simple manner. You didn't have to do this. Dodd-Frank is now 20,000 pages, and it grows every day. As they add more loopholes to it and more exceptions and clarify the new rules and all this kind. It goes on and on and on. These are pieces of legislation that nobody can understand. And what you finally get is that the Obama people view complexity as a positive good. This is a feature. This is not a bug. This is a feature. And I was thinking about this when, one of the things about his presidency, Obama's presidency, that has really annoyed me is their failure to prosecute anybody on Wall Street for all the stuff that went on during the last decade, during the housing bubble, this kind of insane epidemic of fraud. And I was talking to, and they've said why they don't prosecute so many times. Like it's what the Wall Street people were doing was so sophisticated we couldn't understand it. It's so complex. It's financial rocket science. I was talking to a friend of mine who's an old school bank regulator. He had a hand in prosecuting a lot of S&L executives back in the '80s, and he said that in his day, when they, in the old days of bank regulation, when they would look at what a bank was doing and they would see unnecessary complexity, like what we saw in the 10 years ago with all these, these financial instruments that nobody could understand, the credit default swaps, stuff that really nobody got. Not even the people that were trading in them really understood these things. When they saw stuff like that back in the 80s, they would say, aha, fraud. Whenever a bank is doing undue complexity that they don't need, that's almost certainly fraud. And so when they saw that, they would zero in on it. That's a red flag.
It's not necessarily the complexity per se, right? It's more so that
no, it was a giveaway. It was a tell.
Complexity allows them to hide things and do things otherwise that if you did it in a regular way that's easy to understand, everybody would understand it to be fraud. So complexity is a way to kind of obfuscate and muddy the waters on what's going on.
And yes, that's right. And what I didn't realize is that complexity is for the professional class. This is a central thing. So for the people, the kind of like smart Harvard lawyers in the Obama administration, they look at the same thing, at this financial complexity, and they say, oh, sophistication. That's not something bad. That's something good. And they look at Obamacare, the complexity in Obamacare. It allows them to have it both ways. You can both bring the poor into the system, and you don't have to put the insurance companies out of business. And you can get big pharma; they can get a cut of the action too. And but they love this. They love these solutions that nobody can understand. Okay, I talk too much.
No, I think that is. I mean, you're hitting we are almost one mind on this thing.